Today for Pride Month, we are going to make a rainbow waffles. And I'm going to take you on the journey. Waffles are not nearly as scary as you think they are. So I've been vegan for 24 and a half years at this point, and so before the last 10 years or so, I would have to learn to veganize stuff. So I've become a veganizer, not a vegan recipe book follower, generally speaking. So I just got a standard recipe from the Better Homes and Gardens cookbook and modified it substantially, and that is what I use for my waffles. And they of course have eggs in the recipe, which I will not eat because disgusting and animal exploitation. So there are many types of alternatives to eggs, and one of them is a banana. It's classic. Applesauce is even classicer, you know, a little more hippie back in the 60s. Another one is flaxseed. And so what I'm going to do for the waffles, which I like because it adds a little sweetness and it adds a little bit of fiber and like extra healthiness, is I make one egg out of flaxseed and one egg out of a banana. So both of them are being used as egg replacers in this recipe. So the first egg I'm going to make is with flaxseed meal. You can also use whole flax seeds, and all you would do if you use whole flax seeds is to put them in your blender and blend them dry for a little bit. Or if you have a coffee grinder, you can grind them in a coffee grinder, but this is so much easier, so that's what I use. Then I put in about a quarter cup of filtered water. I do not use bottled water because bottles are the scourge of the environment. There we go. And then we'll turn the sound down, but I want to start it off at regular speed and then I bump it up to high speed to get it really frothy. That's the goal for flex eggs, as frothy as possible. So we've blended it on regular, we blended it on high. You can see it's frothy. Take a look at the froth. That's what you want to go for. And then you have to pour it out and let it sit. Now you say, more, that looks like a mess to clean. You don't have to clean it yet because the next thing we do is blend the almond milk we're using with a banana for the second egg. So this recipe calls for 1 3/4 cups of milk, and of course I use plant milk. So for waffle recipes, you have an equal parts of flour and plant milk, because you're always using plant milk. Alright, so the easy thing to do is to take your organic banana and put it in the blender. And we're going to compost this in a second. So this is the almond milk and banana. We're just going to puree it. The next thing we're going to do is combine some dry ingredients while we let the flax seed faux egg settle. And first thing I'm going to do is use flour. Now, if I'm making, you know, more elaborate waffles, I might make buckwheat waffles, which buckwheat is not actually a grain. It's not actually wheat. I think it's like a seed. I'm not sure what it is. But anyway, in any case, it is gluten-free if you need gluten-free action. But I don't need gluten-free. I love me some gluten. So I'm going to have regular sprouted wheat, organic sprouted whole wheat flour that is also veganic. There are very few veganic things I can buy in the store, and this is one of them. So I want to give a shout out to 1 Degree. They're a Canadian company and they make veganic flour. We need a little bit of salt, and I'm one of those cooks who approximates, which is terrible for people watching recipes. But I'm going to put about a 1/4 teaspoon, not a lot of salt. So really that's all in terms of dry ingredients, just some flour, some salt, and some baking powder. So now that we've let the flax seed faux egg sit a little bit, we're going to mix it with the banana and almond milk. Whoa, it's close to the top. And because there's no space, I'm going to add, as an afterthought, the oil. Oh, I picked a too small container. Okay, so after my goof of picking a too small container, I have now moved the batter into a larger container, so we should be fine now. And I'm just going to stir it up. Remember, I have not added the baking soda, sorry, the baking powder yet. Because as soon as I do, the chemical reaction in the baking powder will start to add leavening to the recipe. And all those little carbon dioxide bubbles that are produced as the chemical reaction with baking powder and a liquid, we want to capture that in the fluffiness of the pancake. So we're going to hold off on that until just before we're ready to pour it. So we have about 3 cups worth of batter with this full recipe, and I'm going to separate it into 6 colors worth because that's the classic rainbow. Now, I don't have the right colors to do the black and brown parts of the new LGBTQ rainbow, but I fully endorse the new LGBTQ rainbow. So please understand that I need to get some crazy new colors in order to do it right. So this will be the classic 6-colored rainbow. Okay, so we're going to put about a 1/2 cup of batter in each of these 6 containers. Try to do it as evenly as possible. So this recipe calls for a tablespoon of baking powder. Now, it's not that's the amount for a non-vegan recipe. Since I'm using eggs that don't have any particular leavening quality, I can maybe up it a little bit. But I'm going to approximate for each of the 6 things. When I get ready to use them, I'm going to put in like a heaping 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder. So right now I'm going to do some coloring to get the coloring right, and then at the very last minute before I start cooking a bit, I'm going to add the baking powder. This one's red, and it's made from vegetable dyes, turmeric, and vegetable glycerin. It's like a very natural based dye. It's probably got beet juice in it, is my guess, or maybe purple cabbage sometimes is red. Yeah, that's getting better. Okay, I think that looks orangish. I feel like we're heading in a rainbow direction here. I plugged in the waffle maker. I set it on high, so it's going to take a little while, but while we're waiting, I'm going to just spray it with a little bit of canola oil. You can use any kind of spray oil. Okay, so the waffle iron is now ready, and so I'm at the very last minute adding the baking powder. Squish. Okay, this time we're not going to put too much batter in. Just the right amount. Oh, still too much of the blue. So this one I did a better job this time, but still it needs to be trimmed of the excess. 3rd time's the charm, perhaps, when I do the pink and orange. Okay, so we're gonna do the 3rd waffle, 1/2 orange, 1/2 pinky red. And this time I'm gonna try really hard to not put too much batter in. I think I put too much batter in. Okay, so I got one of them right, finally, after 3 attempts. I got 1/2 of one right. But as with the others, I'm just gonna cut this off. So we've got leftover bits and pieces of the different colors, so what I'm gonna do is just make a tie-dye rainbow, which will be kind of fun. It's got a lot of yellow and orange in it, but I kind of like this tie-dye waffle. And here you go, rainbow waffles. Delicious.